My name is Joan Dwyer, and we're meeting here at 315 Main Street, which is where All That Matters is. We started All That Matters 16 years ago. It was two moms who were kind of going underground to find herbs for their children, or a homeopath, or a yoga class, and we were saying, isn't it time to take what we're passionate about and what people are looking for out from underground? And we found this building on Main Street, and we started with a few yoga classes a week, and before you knew it, we added a massage therapist, and our kids went to school at the Wakefield School, so they would just come over after school, and then we'd go home with them, and we had volunteers, and about 5 or 6 or 7 years into it, we realized it was time to get bigger, and we actually moved into what was the karate studio. Chick Gavitt, who you're going to be talking with later, he moved to another location, and we moved and took it over. Right now we have 7,000 square feet. So we have 4 classrooms, 4 yoga rooms, and a library, and a store, and some health service rooms where we have an acupuncturist, chiropractor, massage therapist, reflexologist, and someone who does great herbal facials. And so it is truly a holistic health center. We've been noted to be the largest in New England, non-residential health center in New England. And we have teachers who come from all over the world to teach here. And about 1,000 people a week walk through our doors looking to get in touch with their health and become more vibrant and more alive, whether it's through going to some yoga classes, or a breathing class, or a meditation class, or learning how to eat better, or getting a massage, or picking up a book.
What's it like to meld the spiritual and holistic with the business?
Well, it's a challenging thing, because All That Matters was started with a passion to bring this to Main Street. And so we were always guided by our passion. And it was funny because I think it was Harvard that came out with a book about 5 years into our working here at All That Matters that said it was something like business from the heart, and that businesses from the heart are going to be the businesses of the future, and when people are passionate about what they do, their business are more vibrant. And we were both, Jeannie and I, who owned All That Matters at the time, were both like, we could have written this book, we didn't even know it, you know? So I think it's essential, for me at least, to be passionate about what I do, and I'm constantly living and learning about all of these modalities and using them. And I think we have to be changing and growing here if we want to be a beacon for people who are changing and growing. In terms of business, if you want to keep your doors open, you have to kind of have some basic respect for business. I mean, I had to learn how to read a profit and loss sheet, and I had to learn how to evaluate advertising, and I had to learn how to write good copy. And sometimes people are resistant about those things, but for me, it's been learning on every level, and I've appreciated each one of those levels.
Was the complexity of the business a surprise to you because it started off so simple as just yoga?
The nice thing for us is that it grew very organically. So in each stage of growth, we would be like, well, what resources did we need? And we were always very blessed with finding people who knew more than us and who would guide us, or, the right teacher would come our way. And so I have to say, it really, really happened organically, because if you had told me 16 years ago I'd be on the radio and I would be writing copy and I would be giving talks to 200 people, I would have quietly laughed at you. So it's been a nice, gentle ride, really.
You give talks all around the country. What are you mainly asked to speak on?
Really whatever people ask me, but most of the time I talk a lot about stress management, how to utilize all of these forms of therapy or yoga or meditation, and how to really utilize them to work in your life. And we talk a lot about what stress is. I also talk about the business of yoga, so I help other centers, whether they're massage or yoga or whatever. I help other centers start and establish themselves, so I often give talks like at Kripalu on the business of yoga. But when and I also teach a program with my husband here at All That Matters called 40 Days to Personal Revolution. And it's a really wonderful program where people commit to coming to yoga more than 3 or 4 times a week, up to 6 or 7 times a week, and meditating twice a day, which we teach them, and eating well, which we teach them, for a 40-day program. And a really interesting revolution happens in their own bodies, and it's fun to do as a group. We usually have 20 to 30 people doing it together. And so I teach a lot about food and diet, which is my passion, and meditation.
What are some of the changes that you see in people who make that kind of a commitment?
We hear everything from, on a simple level, wow, my family really likes me. One husband called me up at day 35 and said, can you keep my wife for 365 days? One woman I know went off of Prozac during that time. She was ready and had been doing a lot of the work to do that. One woman had just been diagnosed with breast cancer right when she started the program, and she said she wasn't worried because she knew she was learning all the tools she needed to learn to stay healthy and to maintain through the program. We've seen people lose weight, sleep better, feel more comfortable in their bodies, feel stronger, laugh more, whine less.
A new study from Yale University suggests that meditation changes the brain for the better, which I'm sure is no surprise to you and to others in the holistic field who've been saying that for years. What do you think the reason is for the conflict, if you think there is any, between medicine and or science and the holistic arts?
I don't personally see it as a balance. I think it's kind of a very exciting time. I think it's a very exciting time where East is meeting West. Traditional forms of healing like massage and acupuncture and even yoga, these are being accepted by the medical society now. A lot of medical doctors recommend All That Matters to their clients. I think that the research is now, now people are open to hearing that this works because their patients are coming to them saying, all I did was start going to yoga. I'm not as stressed out anymore. Or I started meditating, so they're seeing it. So there's this openness. We're always going to meet medical doctors. I broke my leg recently. It was a wonderful gift to find a good medical path. But sometimes we pull out big guns before we need them.
Do you see alternative medicine as appropriate for everyone?
Yeah, of course, it's appropriate for everyone to take their health back in their hands and to not just sit around hoping another pill will come to solve all their problems. So thank God that there are pills that will solve some problems, but most of our day-to-day problems, whether it be our child having runny noses, our ear infections, or our digestive system not working that right, or too much congestion in our head, or a bad complexion, or lethargy, these are all problems that can be solved with simple, natural alternatives. Whether they're finding the right herbs or getting rid of dairy in your diet. A lot of people now are finding that they're dairy or gluten intolerant. And when they get rid of those things, so many of their problems disappear. We've seen, the biggest loser on television. They lose, 150 pounds, and no longer do they have diabetes, chronic problems. So there is the wonderful thing I like about alternative health or traditional medicine is that it's very, very logical, and it's worked for thousands of years. So we're not the test dummies. So I find that, as a mother, I have 5 children, and as someone who has lots of friends, we can just simply ask logically, what are you doing, what are you not doing, what action steps can you take? And after you've exhausted all of them, whether you start moving your body, start meditating, start eating properly, if things aren't changing, then you pull out the big guns. And so yes, we all have a personal responsibility to be proactive about our health and to be preventative about health. It's very hard once disease sets in to heal it. It's hard, not impossible, but hard. So if we're preventative about it and we take the action steps that we all know, if I asked everybody out there in your radio land, what are 5 things you can do today for your health and you would be more vibrant? You all can answer that.
What is the most common complaint you hear with the easiest solution?
Oh, that's a good question. We get a lot of people who are just exhausted. They've pushed themselves too hard, but they don't know where to stop, so that they're constantly exhausted or frustrated or angry, and even teetering on what one would call depression. And I find that when they start to open the door to the holistic healing world, whether it's their first store is Reiki or a massage or yoga or even a book they pick up in our store, it's like, oh my God, there's an alternative. And just knowing that there's an alternative, and that there's logic to the universe, and that there's a way for them to think differently about their lives usually begins to open up a whole bunch of doors, and then they become really excited about doing yoga, or a lot of people find Reiki really relaxing, and it's a tool they can do on themselves, and it's like a private meditation, and we're so quick to say, oh, I can't do that, my mind won't be quiet, or I don't have the time, or we kind of joke at All That Matters and say, if you're too busy for yoga, you're just too busy. You're just too darn busy, and we have to find time in our lives for ourselves. And we do that, it starts a whole landslide of taking care of ourselves, which is quite beautiful.
People are really busy.
And that's why this stuff is so popular. People say to me, oh, you have a good business, you're a good businesswoman. I'm really not necessarily a great businesswoman. It's meditation and yoga and eating well. They're the answer. They're the counterbalance to this crazy, wild lifestyle we have. And way back when life was slower and we had to walk 5 miles to get places, so just walking was part of our work, we couldn't go as fast. We can go so fast right now because we can touch buttons and things happen instantly, and we can do so much more in an hour than we used to be able to do. If we don't counterbalance that, we go crazy. We're just a wreck. And so practices like yoga and meditation are the perfect counterbalance.
Is yoga and meditation something that needs to be done for hours and hours at a time, or can people start gradually? What can you suggest for someone who is just getting started?
Yeah, it certainly is not an all or nothing situation, and it doesn't have to be extreme at all. I tell people our biggest tool is our breath. Really, when you're wound up or angry or frustrated or about to scream at your kid, if you could just turn around for a minute and take 3 deep breaths, really the oxygenation, just oxygenating our blood really transitions everything. So it really transitions everything. It's such a simple step. Breathing. It's funny, we teach classes on breathing here on All That Matters. How ironic that you would have to pay money to learn how to breathe, but we forget to breathe and to breathe deeply. And that in itself is hugely healing. Meditation is a phenomenal tool. And if you could meditate 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you would see a huge change in your life. And I want to tell everybody that we teach meditation in 20 minutes here at All That Matters, and yoga is a great way to ease into meditation because you kind of get quiet within your body, and then at the end of each yoga class you have a quiet time and you start to feel comfortable with it. But meditation does not necessarily mean that your mind is absolutely quiet. It means that you're sitting with yourself in a quiet space, allowing your thoughts to rise and go away and not attaching to them. And as you do that, you tend to drop deeper and deeper. In our world now, we think every thought we have to follow. And before we know it, our thoughts become toxins. And if we can just learn to let them go without attachment and find a space of quietness and do that 5 minutes a day, there's a phenomenal amount of study about that. What happens after you start doing it 5 minutes a day, it's like you start longing for it, and before you know it, you're sitting 10 and 15 minutes a day. So no, nothing has to be done extremely. It has to be done with some awareness. And the ultimate goal that we have here is to raise our own consciousness. Because as we're more conscious, we're more alive. The world will be a better place if everyone was just more conscious. And the way you do that is by purifying your body in so many ways. Eating well, moving your body, and purifying your thoughts through meditation. Now, many people experience meditation through prayer, through running, through walking in nature. So most people are comfortable with somewhere where they can let go of all the thinking and be a little more centered. But what's really sad is that we're bringing up whole generations of people who have no connection to that ever. When I meet with high school students, sometimes I say to them, when was the last time you went for a walk by yourself without your cell phone? Some of them say never ever. So it's really essential that we're comfortable being in our own bodies without following our thoughts all the time. And that takes some courage and will and practice. And it's an essential thing for sanity.
Do you offer classes for children?
We have some yoga classes for children. We have some mother and daughter classes, things, but we don't do as many classes for children. These traditions are more adult traditions. We do send teachers sometimes into school systems, and we do teach yoga teachers or other teachers how to teach yoga with 2 children.
Kind of a funny story. When we lived in Connecticut, my children were small, and I had a car full of 5 and 6-year-olds, and they were kind of bouncing off the walls, going crazy. And so I stopped for a minute, and I said, "Okay, I want you all to repeat after me." And I had them repeat "Om, Om" a couple of times. And I'm telling you, there was a silence that fell over the car. There was a piece about the whole car after that. They calmed right down. It was really, really interesting.
Do you see how easy? It's so easy for us to shift from chaos and insanity to quiet, and yet we make it like it's the biggest threshold in the world and we can't cross over it. But we can do it with our children, and we can do it with ourselves, and we can do it 5 minutes a day. One of our statements at All That Matters, our bylines, if you will, is inner peace leads to world peace, and that's all that matters. And it really is all that matters. What matters is that as a world, we are peaceful. And that starts from being peaceful within ourselves. And I really feel strongly that everything we teach at All That Matters is helping people to feel peaceful within themselves. That's kind of our criteria.
Do you have a preference or opinion about meditating with music or without music?
There's a million ways to meditate. You can do walking meditations, you can do guided meditations, you can do silent meditations, you can do very strict, Zen Buddhist meditations where you have to be in a certain, body structure. I say to people, go out there and explore meditation. Whatever works. If if a guided meditation is working for you, that's great. I think ultimately I favor a quiet sitting meditation where you just keep quietly coming back to yourself 5 minutes a day. That's the one I favor because it's so simple. You can do it anywhere, and you don't need anything. And that's what we teach in our 40-day program. And my husband David actually once a month does a program here. The first Wednesday of every month, he introduces that meditation, and then you can come back for free. And it's very good to meditate with other people. It's a profound experience because sometimes what you can't hold in your own space because you're so distracted, when you come and meditate with others regularly, it kind of strengthens that muscle. The same with yoga. It's very hard to do yoga by yourself. It's easier to do yoga with others and just be kind of ride on the wings of it.
What originally brought you to Rhode Island, and how did you come to choose to settle in South County?
My husband and I are both from New Jersey, and we both went to schooling different places, North Carolina and Vermont and Boston, and then when we got married, we settled in Boston for a little while, and my brother was living in Rhode Island. So we would come down here and realized how much more relaxed it was in South County than it was in Boston with no money and children. And before you knew it, we moved to Rhode Island. Then we had to leave because David went to chiropractic school in St. Louis, and when we were picking a place, we said we can live anywhere in the country now. We're not being moved by education, and we checked, we went all over. We went to Portland and Virginia and all over, and we ended up coming back to Rhode Island. We thought it was a great place to bring up our children, and it was close enough to Manhattan and Boston, 2 places that we're very comfortable with, and it had the university and the ocean. So that's what brought us back, and we've been living here for over 25 years, and my children went to school here.
When would you say your spiritual journey started?
I always felt like I never resonated really well with the Catholic Church, although my brother was a Roman Catholic priest, and I loved some of the rituals, but I was always kind of a little agitated, looking for why I was here on this earth for some reason. And when I graduated high school, I went down to college in North Carolina where my brothers and sisters were, some of them were living, and I had no money, and my stomach was always, I had really bad stomach pain all the time because I used to work at a Perkins Pancake House, and I would work from like 2 in the afternoon to 2 at night, 2 in the morning, and I pretty much, survived on eating a lot of chocolate and coffee. I didn't think that had any effect on my health at the time. And my sister, so when I got to North Carolina, I had no money, and my sister brought me 10 pounds of brown rice and said, here, you need to start eating well. And I didn't know what the hell she was giving me, so I went to the natural food store. I was like, what do I do with this? And then they start giving me books, and I was amazed. Like, it was like everything I didn't even know I was searching for. Like, life started making sense. Like, I realized there was an order to the universe, and I got profoundly involved in the power of food, and I dropped out of college, and I moved to Boston and lived in a raw food institute. And then after that, I lived in a macrobiotic institute, and I just followed this whole path of food and healing. To this day, I'm a food and healing junkie. I love cooking. I love finding out more about food. I love the power. I've watched food heal many, many people. And so that was the beginning. You know, around the same time, I started finding out about yoga, and I became kind of, you know, so I would say when I was 18, I found out about food and yoga. It changed my life for good. No going back.
So what made you say to yourself, I can start this place for yoga, and this is going to work?
Yeah, there was a bit of divine intervention. I don't take full credit for this one, really. I had come to a crossroads in my life where I was hitting some walls. Jeannie, my business partner, had come to a crossroads in her life where she was hitting some walls. And we were having tea one day. Both of us, between us, we had 8 children. We were like, what do we want to do when we grow up? You know, you're at that place where like, okay, we're tired of speaking in one-syllable words, but we can't really imagine anything else. And there was a bookstore for sale here in town, and we went and looked at it. And Jean said, well, Joan, where would people do yoga? I'm like, because we were both yoga. You know, she had started the New England Organic Farming Association. I had been teaching natural foods cooking classes, and I was like, who's doing yoga, Jean? And then all of a sudden, like almost as if we were downloaded, we had this vision of like a yoga center and the arts. And so we went home and rewrote it. And we wrote the mission statement that we have right now, which is to work together with a group of talented people to educate and support each other and our community to continually grow and maintain optimal health and well-being. We wrote that, you know, one day when we were saying, and then this building went up for sale. And Jeannie said, that building's for, we had no money. And I was like, Jean, that's a big, ugly building. It was an ugly building. And it needed $10,000 deposit. And this woman we had been going to as a healer called us up one day, and she said, I was meditating, and an angel told me that you needed $10,000 for something. I put a check in your mailbox. I swear to God, I don't even know if you want to tell the story because it's a little quacky, but it's true. And then I actually just like almost threw up because it was like, oh my God, I was just happy being in La La Land. You know, I'm mom. Isn't it fun to be thinking these crazy thoughts? And then $10,000 appeared in our mailbox, and we bought the building. We don't own it now, but we bought it then, and we started very small, 1 yoga room. That was it, and we have been guided. I mean, really, truly guided. Like, you know, one time we had this one yoga teacher. Her name was Elizabeth. She was one of our favorite yoga teachers. She was wonderful. She was our second yoga teacher ever to have here. And when it was time for her to leave, her mom was sick, and she had to go live with her in Atlanta. We were like crushed, like, oh my God, we might as well close the doors. Like, everybody loves Elizabeth, you know? And then that next day, this woman walks in, hopping in, really cute little girl. She says, oh, I'm on my way to Colorado. I teach yoga, but I'm going to spend a week here with my mom. And I was like, well, would you be willing to live here? And she took over all of Elizabeth's classes, lived here for like 5 years. Like, it's always happened like that. And so whenever I start getting stressed or crazy or thinking, you know, I have to do it and I'm not getting enough done on my list, I kind of remember those stories and know that it's really not me. There's something bigger going on here. And I'm just one of the players.
Even with such remarkable events, do you ever lose your faith, and how do you get it back?
Oh yeah, I lose my faith all the time. I'm a wild woman. I've got like ADD, I'm intense, I'm crazy, I'm all, you know, I'm 100% Arab, you know, I have a lot of crazy Mediterranean energy. You know, I lose my faith as, you know, and what, you know, I was talking about this to my husband. I lose my faith in my faith in my grounding often. The difference between now and then is that I can get it back quickly.
How can folks reach you and can you give a relaxation suggestion?
Our new catalog is out now. Please call us and get it. You can check us out online. We're great at Facebooking. We Facebook great deals all the time. We tweet, we Facebook. So just connect with us in any way. We send out tips all the time on different things. We just send out a great article, great newsletter on gratitude, and so I would say that's a great way to stay in touch with us. And just stop in on Main Street. We're open 7 days a week. We love talking to people about all these things. We even have a library you could just go hang in and read them if you're getting your car fixed across the street or whatever. But I would say to be quiet with yourself for a minute and make a list of 3 things that you do that make you feel better. Whether it's sitting down and doodling, whether it's, playing music loud and dancing, whether it's I love my yoga class. And don't surrender these things during this busy time. Like, actually put it on your mirror in your bathroom, those 3 things. And when you get up in the morning, say, oh, which one am I going to do today? It's not like you have to go do something new. Do what nourishes you now. That's what I would say.